What we're going to look at today is chapter 7.7. We're going to be looking at printing a spreadsheet, the options that we have to print a spreadsheet, or we could even do exercise 17 tomorrow, but it all depends on how much time we have. So someone can practice that for tomorrow. Nicholas? So,
Alright, sir.
let's have a reader for our first paragraph. Keelan, can you read for us?
Yes, sir. Which part?
First paragraph. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. Okay. Microsoft Excel provides a number of optional settings to change the appearance of a printed page. You can change margins, adjust orientations, add headers, slash footers, and modify other features. Before a document is printed, you should always ensure that the page is set up correctly by previewing the print job. 1. Go to File tab or menu. 2. Step 2. Select Print. Depending on your version of Excel, there may be different ways to view the setup of your page. 3. Customize the print features that affect the overall sheet with the Sheet tab on Page Setup. 4. Print area. Specify the block to be printed. If a block of cells is selected before you select this option, the print area will already be displayed. 5. Print titles. Specify rows to be printed along the top or the columns to be printed along the left of each page. 6. With options for grid lines, suppress or print the sheet grid lines. Black and white. Convert color images to black and white for faster printing. Draft quality, speed up the printout by printing pure graphics and suppress the grid lines. Row and column settings. Print the row numbers and the column letters around the border of the printout. Comments include cell notes. Cell errors specify the content printed in cells containing errors. Page order specify the order in which the pages will print.
Good, very good. I think that's everything. Yeah. So basically, when you are printing your spreadsheet, there are different features, there are different options that you can add to your spreadsheet. And those features are all what Keelan would have just read. So to find those features, um, let me find up Excel that I can open first. Um, all right. So we have this spreadsheet here, and say for example your SBA. Say you have to print your SBA. Now, in order for you to see, just like in Microsoft Word, because in Microsoft Word, it is much easier for you to see what is printable because you see a blank page and you know already that whatever is on this page, that is what will be printed. But if you look at a spreadsheet, you can't really know what is being printed unless you check the print preview or you enable the option to see what is printable. Now, to get your print option, you would go to the File menu, Print, and we have our print preview here. Notice it only has item ID, item, cost, price, and markup. We have an entire table here, but only the four first columns are being printed because only those would fit on a page. Now, we have different options that we can choose to set up our spreadsheet. So if we go back to our notes, it says to go to the File tab or menu, select Print, and customize the print features that affect the overall sheet with the Sheet tab on Page Setup. So we need to locate Page Setup. So see Page Setup is at the bottom here. We're in the print screen, File, File, Print, Page Setup at the bottom here. And these are the options here that you have for your spreadsheet, how you want it to be printed. Do you want it to be printed in portrait mode or landscape mode? If it is in portrait, it will be vertical, top to bottom. But if it is in landscape, you will see it horizontal. So notice we now have space in the width left to right, so more information can fit width-wise. So notice we now have 6 columns instead of 4 columns before. We can adjust the scaling to fit more information on the page, the adjust to percentage. So by adjusting the scaling, we can fit more on the page. We can choose what type of page we want, what page size, paper size, letter, legal, and so on. The quality of the print. If we go over to margin, we can set different margin sizes. That we want to run our document, just like in Microsoft Word, where we would set a margin. We can do that here also. Now, to add titles and so on that the notes were speaking about, print titles and your grid lines and so on, you can find those in header and footer. So, say for instance, in the header part here, we can custom header. Where do we want a header on our spreadsheets? Let me take off this margin on this side. Good. Header and footer, custom header. So a header goes to the top of the document and a footer goes to the bottom of a document, just as the word implies, header and footer. So if you select custom header, you have 3 boxes here that you can basically have the location of the header at the top of your document. Do you want it to the left, the top left, to the middle top, or top right? So if we do center top, this is my heading. Okay, okay again. Notice the heading appeared at the top there. This is my heading at the top here of my document. If I go back to page setup, I can put another heading, left heading, in the left section, and in the right section I put right heading. Okay, and notice those appear inside of my document. So if you want to put titles, you don't need to put it inside of the spreadsheet. You can put it inside of the margins of your spreadsheet that you are printing. So that's for the header. If you want to do footer now, custom footer, left footer, center footer, and right footer. Okay, okay again. And if you look at the bottom, we have it at the bottom here. The left footer, the center footer, and the right footer. So just you put in the text in the correct box and it will appear on the spreadsheet. Now, how do you want it? Do you want it to appear on odd pages and or even pages? That's up to you. Do you want it to only appear on the first page? Do you want to scale the document, align the page? All of those options are up to you. Now, for the sheet part, the sheet tab, we can select the area of where we want to print. So I think if we highlight like this here, let me see if this still works. No. Control P. Nope. Okay, this area here is grayed out to me, but in this box here, you are supposed to be allowed to select what area inside of the spreadsheet you would like to select to be printed. That's a print area. The rows at the top columns are to repeat, same thing, you can select what you want. Now the Sheets tab is also where you would add your grid lines. So if I select grid lines and I select OK, I think it's because we have margins. That's why the grid lines are not showing up. Let me see if I take them off. And I go back to print. Good. We have our grid lines for our spreadsheet here. If you want to print it black and white, draft quality, row and headings, all of the options are under the page setup for the print option. So, any questions for printing before we move on?
Sir, this uses method to create like invoices from spreadsheet.
It all depends. It all depends on if a company wants to use it.
Alright.
So once again, complete the question as homework in your book. You can do it for next week Tuesday. Practice the exercise. More than likely you won't get to do this tomorrow, so practice for next week also. Seems you guys understand printing and the different options that we have there. Just note that you use the preview option to see how the document will be when you are printing. You use the preview pane and you go to the page setup so that you can have the different options there are to format or design your printing to how you want it to be presented. Alright, so this is actually our last chapter, 7.8, important files and Linkin data. And Jamal Blunt is casually scrolling in. So 7.8, important files into Excel. So the reason why we want to import files is because at times there may be large amounts of data inside, say for instance, in another file. And instead of us to type over all of that data into a new spreadsheet, we can use the import option, which allows us to basically copy over all of the data to the spreadsheet file. So it makes it much easier to get the data to another file. So let's see how we do that. Importing files into Excel. Giovanni, can you read for us?
You can import files from an outside source into Excel, providing you have a way to distinguish one column of data from another. When you select the file open menu option, you can change the file type to a text file or other required file type. When you choose the file you want, Excel will take you through to the text import wizard. Step 1 of wizard will let you decide if the file is delimited or fixed width. If this is delimited, there would be a character, such as a space, comma, or tab, separating one column from the next. If it is fixed width, spaces were used to line up the columns.
Good. You can pause there. So if we are to import a file into Excel, it basically needs a way to understand the file first. So that is why only certain files are recommended in order for you to import it into Excel. So now, other than the file type being one that is recommended, you also need a way to separate the data. So for example, they gave us two examples here. There is the delimited option and there is the fixed width option. So it is used to separate the columns inside of the data or the file. So the delimited option uses characters such as space, comma, or tab to separate one column from the next. Or we have the fixed width, which uses spaces to line up the columns. So let me show you an example. This here is a notepad file, and I'm going to create two headings, um, students, and to separate it from the other heading, I can either use a space, grades, or I could use a comma. But if I use a comma, that means I don't think I'll be able to use any spaces there. So students, grades, I can put now Giovanni, comma, 10. Jasmine, 5. Keelan, 6. So this is my table here. So now, if I want to, alright, before we get to that part, just note that for now, this is how you would, the file that you're importing would be designed. It would either be separated, the columns would either be separated by a comma or maybe a space like this here. Either option can work. Let me save it on the desktop until I'm ready for it. Good. So I just created my file to import the data. Now, let's continue. Khadija, can you read for us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Figure 7.66 shows what step of the wizard should look like if you had chosen delimited. You would then choose the character that indicates a separation between one column and another. If you wish, you can treat consecutive delimiters as one. If your data were fixed width, you would click in the data area at the exact spot or spots where you want the column splits to be.
Okay, you can pause there. So let's look at importing now. Good. So we have our spreadsheet here, and to get the import option, it should be, is it data, review, insert, import, import, import. Okay, I think this is the import section here, from table and range. Oh, from text files above here. So on the data, we have from text slash CSV. If you guys can see the box that appears here, it says import data from a text or comma separated value or formatted text, space delimited. So remember, there's different ways that you can separate the different columns. There's spaces, there's commas, there's width. So it's just giving you all the options there. So in my text file, I have space as the separator. I am locating, so I clicked on text at the top here, data, text, and I am locating my file. I save it on the desktop, import, import.txt, import the file, and now we'll get the import wizard. Good. So this here is the import wizard. Now notice at the bottom here, this bottom box here, this entire pane here, it is showing me a preview of how the table will be. So the options at the top here are for you to select the settings for the origin file or the original file, which is this text file here. So sometimes it might automatically detect it, like how it did here, to present the data. But at other times, you might need to change it so that it can import the data correctly. So this you do not need to change. The delimiter is what you would need to change. How the data was separated. Was it separated by space? Was it separated by a comma? Was it separated by a colon? So in our case, it was separated by space. So notice we have spaces here. And when we use the space option, it has the correct columns there. So after that, I want to transform data. Or was it import? Let me try load. Load. Good. And we have our table here now. So the same data that was inside of my text document, I now have it as a table here. So if I use commas to separate my columns, I can even create another column. So after grades, I can put age, comma, for the tree, 54, 67, save, go back to import again, data, text file, import the file again, and notice it automatically detected that comma was used as the delimiter to separate the different columns. So see the preview at the bottom here. We have student grades and age. It was already detected, so we just have to select load, and we have our new table here. So it's that simple to import your data. In step 3, you can format the data in each column. If you want, you can choose not to import it and so on. Good. So next is Linkin files in Excel. So let's see. Durrani.
Yes, sir. Sometimes the data you want is in another file. Sir, can you mute yourself? Sometimes the data you want is in another file. Linking a cell to a cell in another worksheet is a very simple process. In the cell where the link will go, type an equal sign. Then click on the cell in the worksheet and press enter. Excel links the two cells. It is best to have both files open to make the link simple. Use and switch windows in the View tab or the window menu in earlier versions switches from one workbook to the other. Figure 7.68 shows part of the worksheet where your result will be displayed. The name of the sheet, then an exclamation mark, separates the sheet name from the cell. Figure 7.69 shows the final result.
Good. So we have two options here of how to get data from one file to Excel. We just looked at the import option, which can import from a text file or some sort of CSV file into an Excel file. Now we are looking at linking one Excel file with another Excel file. So in order for us to do this, obviously we're going to need another Excel file. So new worksheet. So now I have two Excel files here. So okay, this is gonna work. So I have a blank Excel file over here. So just like how you would use the link cell feature. So for example, if I'm in sheet 1 and if I want Jomani from here to be over in this sheet here, I would put the equal sign, click on sheet 2 and click on Jomani and select enter. That's the link cell feature. Jomani's name is now over here. Now linking to Excel file is very similar. So Jomani here, if I want it over in this other Excel file, I put an equal sign also and I just select the cell in the other Excel file. So notice it first shows the name of the file, book 2. If you look at the top here, you see book 2 as the name of the file, and which sheet in that file is the data located. It is located in sheet 1. The exclamation mark indicates as the end of the sheet name, and the next part is the name of the cell. And you select enter, and that is how you link cells between two Excel files. So if I wanted Jasmine now from here, equal Jasmine, I just have to click on it and it will be linked between the two files. So complete this homework here for next week's class, next week Tuesday. We look at it next week Tuesday. Did we look at I don't think we looked at this homework also. Alright. I'm wondering if we looked at 7.5 homework. Can you guys remember if we looked at 7.5 homework? This one here? I think we would have done that.
I think we look at this one.
Yeah, because we would have completed it before the exercise. I think so. Alright, so tomorrow we have presentation, exercises 11 all the way to 16. That's tomorrow, Wednesday. That means next week, Tuesday, we will be looking at these homework questions here for 7.6. 7.7, we can look at this one here. And we can also have the presentation next week, Tuesday, for exercise 17. And 7.8, we can also look at the homework. And we're going to look at the last exercise 18 and 19 next week Tuesday. So homework and exercise 16, exercise 17 to 19 for next week Tuesday. Tomorrow is 11 to 16. Alright, so in review, what we looked at today. Today we looked at printing our spreadsheet. Now, if you notice with the SBA that you're creating, the data is very large and it spreads across the width of your spreadsheet. And if you remember the print preview that I just showed you, not all of the data appeared on the page as you were printing. So when you're printing a spreadsheet, it's not as simple as printing a Word document. So if you want all of the data on your spreadsheet, you have to go through the page setup option in the print option to set up your spreadsheet in order to get the data that you want to be printed. So that's what we looked at today. And then lastly, with 7.8, we looked at how we can import data. So if you have, say, data in a file and we want it to be in an Excel file, instead of us typing it over, we can use the import option. And then lastly, we looked at linking a file. If some sort of data, it's just like the link cell feature. If one Excel file has one piece of data and we want it in another Excel file, we can use the link file feature, which is similar to using the link cell feature within two sheets. The same thing you do to link two files together. So today was a short class. Do you guys have any questions on anything that we covered today? Or any previous topic?
All right, no, sir, but probably when read them up. Let's see.
Alright, so if you guys don't have any other questions, we shall end here today. You are free to leave. Enjoy the rest of your day.